families to Raleigh for a picnic. Henry was the only one I had told about my baby girl. I didn't want pity, and he didn't show any. He was the one who thought up the idea of stringing ropes between the house and the barn so she could find her way around the place. After watching Stonewall sucking on his beloved lemons, Henry was the one who thought up how we could teach her about the world through taste and smell and feel. He made me hope for her when all I had felt was despair. My letters home to Amy were full of things Henry had said or ideas that Henry had had. She liked thinking that we might be able to be a pretty normal family after all. Well, that would be after the war anyway. In camp, there wasn't much for us to do but drink and gamble. I'd be a liar if I said I didn't do my share of drinking, but I didn't take the cards. My family needed the money too bad. Even though I got less and less as the years went on, what little I got helped them through. Amy took in sewing jobs until she couldn't get thread, needles, or material. Everything went up in price so bad that she took to roaming the fields for woods for poke salads, acorns, and mushrooms. A man would have to be a heartless bastard to gamble away his money when his family was eating like squirrels. Folks followed us around like vultures, everybody trying to earn a penny from us wherever they could. Sometimes local farmers would come to us to sell whatever produce they had. The boys came up with a harmless prank, mostly out of boredom. While the farmer was off working on prices, one of us would unhitch the mule and hide it somewhere in the camp. When he started searching for it, we'd take turns hollering, "Hey, mister, here's your mule." We led him a merry chase that might last the whole afternoon. We gave him back his mule when the fun wore off and we had to move on. It still makes us laugh to think about it. Some of the boys could play and sing. I could never carry a tune, though, but I'd join in when they'd stir up different songs such as Hard Crackers Come Again and more, and clever fellows were always making up new words to go with these tunes. There was one boy in the camp, I believe his name was Mark, I think. He had a beautiful singing voice. When the fires got low and the dancing was done, someone always asked him to sing Somebody's Darling. None of us wanted to die among strangers or be buried without anybody knowing who we were. We cried a lot when he would sing. We took the penny and scraps of paper with our names on them to the insides of our coats. Then we'd pray that there'd be enough of us left that we'd pray that there'd be enough of us left to tell what we'd once been men. I saw men have their heads taken off by cannonballs. Once I happened to be too close to a man who was hit square on by one. He was there, and then he wasn't. The pink spray covered all of us, and I reckon that's what was left of him. He was a Yankee, so I didn't grieve too much, but I never got over the sight. We had to put up with a lot of bad smells in the camps as well, but we got used to most of them. One time I got separated from Henry, and the smoke and the noise in the battle was very bad. When I found him later, he was very sick. He had been resting under a tree when, well, what was left of some poor soldier fell out of the tree and fell right on his head. We went down to the river where he dropped and walked straight into the water with all his clothes on. He spent a lot of time scrubbing this out of his hair and out of his face. We never talked about it. Some things can't be joked away, but the things we saw, we'd rather not talk about. Not one of us got through the war without crying. If a man said he didn't shed a tear, then he's a liar or a hard-hearted bastard. Some were more private than others about it. I cried the first time I stuck a bayonet in a man and watched his life fall into the dirt. I cried when they told us Stonewall was dead. Hell, we all cried at that point. He had some odd things about him, like he'd hold his left arm up in the air for no particular reason that you knew of, but he come to trust a man who could win battles. I cried when Amy told me that Samuel had fallen at Gettysburg, but the hardest I ever cried was when my friend Henry died. He caught a bullet in his shoulder. The doctor took his arm off, but the gangrene poisoned his blood. I sat with him in the hospital talking about all the things we'd do after the war. Neither of us believed a word of it, but I couldn't say what was in my heart. I wanted to say that he was the best friend that I ever had, that I'd make sure that his family was taken care of, that I'd give him every drop of my blood if he would just live. I buried him myself and soaked the ground with my tears. I wrote all the things in my heart to his wife. When the war was finally over, I walked home from Richmond with a scrap of paper in my pocket saying I would never take up arms again against the United States. I weighed 30 pounds less than what I had when I started the war. My beard was long and full of moving things. My whole body was covered with moving things as well. It took several baths with lye soap to get rid of it. Amy said she hardly knew me, that I had changed so much. It's been a year since it ended, and I have put on a few pounds, and I did shave off my beard. My daughter knows my face beneath her fingers, and my smell and the sound of my voice. She follows the ropes we string up from the house to the barn and helps me milk the cows. She sings to her new baby brother, Henry, and the sound of it makes me smile. She cannot see, but then again, there's a lot in this world that she probably shouldn't see. Folks, I thank you for coming tonight to remember me and my fellow soldiers who left our homes and families and went off to fight. I was one of the lucky ones. I came home. Many of the folks, your husbands, your neighbors, your friends, your brothers, your ancestors, they did not. They deserve all the recognition and honor that you will give them. Thank you.